Sometimes you see these alliances, these big public partnerships, and they just feel solid, too big to fail almost.
Yeah, powerful figures, lots of buzz. Maybe they even get some big things done.
Exactly. And then, boom, it just disintegrates. Not quietly either, but like a huge public spectacle.
And that kind of spectacular collapse, that's exactly what these sources you've given us are documenting about Donald Trump and Elon Musk. It was this relationship that went incredibly high, got really intertwined, and then it feels like overnight it just became what the reports are calling all-out social media warfare.
It really is something. We're looking at a whole stack of material here, reports from Newsweek, PBS, AP, NPR, CBS, Politico, The Independent.
And even pulling stuff from, like, Reddit discussions, seeing how people reacted online.
Right. And these aren't just headlines. They're packed with the specifics, the quotes, the key moments that really let us trace this thing from its, frankly, surprising start to its, well, shocking end.
So our mission today, for you listening, is to really dive deep into this source material. We're going to follow the path of this pretty remarkable political relationship.
Yeah, figure out what exactly sparked this feud that blew up so fast.
Walk through that public explosion online, step by step based on the reports, and then look at the immediate aftermath, the potential fallout, all grounded totally in what these sources are telling us.
Okay, let's get into it. Expect some pretty surprising details and key takeaways we've pulled from all this reading. It's definitely a wild ride.
So where do we start? Maybe with how this whole alliance even formed, because one of the most striking things in these sources is how much Musk's political stance seems to have shifted.
Absolutely. You think of him now, and maybe you immediately connect him with Trump. But the reports detail this history where he was critical, even backed other candidates.
That's right. The sources point out he wasn't always a Trump guy, reportedly critical back in 2016, 2022.
Yeah.
Some reports even say he backed Clinton in 16 and Biden in 20.
But even during Trump's first term, there was some engagement, like trying to keep lines open.
Yeah, there's a quote from 2017 mentioned in one source where Musk apparently said, just attacking Trump achieves nothing, that you need open channels of communication. So it wasn't like a straight line to becoming allies.
Okay, so not a simple path. But then the sources really zero in on a turning point around July 2024, after that terrible assassination attempt on Trump in Pennsylvania.
Right. Multiple sources flagged that event. Musk publicly announces his support then. And very quickly, reports started emerging about his payee, his political action committee, starting to funnel really significant money towards Trump's campaign.
And we're not talking small change here. The sources really emphasize the scale of the money. One report tallied it at what? At least $250 million?
Another one pushed it even higher, over $270 million.
Yeah.
And a lot of that reportedly was focused specifically on Pennsylvania, where the attempt happened. So a very direct response.
And it wasn't just the money, was it? His platform, X, played a huge role, according to these reports.
A huge role. Described as a powerful addition to the campaign. Amplifying Trump's message, helping connect with tech people, younger voters online.
And Trump clearly loved it. The quotes in these sources, he's calling Musk one of our great brains, an amazing guy. He even called him his first buddy.
Yeah, and that "star is born" comment Trump reportedly made on election night, referring to Musk. It shows how central he seemed to view Musk's contribution.
So this relationship goes way beyond just campaign support. It moves right into the administration itself. The sources detail Musk becoming a special government employee, an SGE.
Right, not a full cabinet secretary, but this temporary role. He was heading up a new thing called the Department of Government Efficiency. DOGE for short.
DOGE, yeah, I remember seeing that. And its whole purpose, based on the reports, was pretty blunt. Cut costs, downsize government agencies aggressively.
And he was in that SGE role for about, 130 days, the sources say?
Something like that. But what really leaps out from the reports is the kind of access he got during that time. For someone in a temporary advisory spot, it sounds pretty unprecedented.
Totally. Described as a fixture around Mar-a-Lago. Think about that. Not just formal meetings, but, posing for pictures, joining dinners, that kind of casual access.
And it went further, traveling on Air Force One, reports say. Sleeping in the Lincoln bedroom at the White House.
Which is just, wow. And maybe the detail that really paints a picture, sitting in on actual cabinet meetings. One report even claims he did that, sometimes wearing a MAGA hat.
Wearing a MAGA hat in a cabinet meeting? If true, that really underscores the unique, almost informal vibe of their relationship at its peak, how integrated he seemed.
And his influence wasn't just symbolic gestures. The sources point to real impact. like playing a key role, reportedly, in killing that Republican-backed government funding bill late last year, 2024.
Right, which, according to some analysts quoted, really showed how much sway he potentially had over Trump's legislative priorities. It wasn't just about tech.
And they weren't shy about showing off the partnership either. Remember that Tesla event? The sources mentioned it cars on the White House driveway back in March, Trump publicly picking out a red one.
Oh, yeah, I remember seeing pictures of that. And the White House apparently started using Starlink for its internet, too. Very visible symbols.
It really built this public image of them as this powerful team. And incredibly, just last week, May 30th, the reports say there was an official send-off for Musk in the Oval Office.
Trump gave him a ceremonial key, called him a friend and advisor, and suggested he'd be back.
Exactly, saying he'd be back and forth. It really felt like the peak, from critic to supporter to what some sources called a bromance or a political marriage, an alliance of convenience, one article put it. Mutual goals, maybe. Reducing spending, using X.
And then just PFFT, it collapses into this spectacular flameout, this all-out war. It's quite the trajectory.
So how did it go from ceremonial keys and, sleeping in the Lincoln bedroom to all-out war in, like, a week?
The sources are pretty aligned on the immediate trigger. It started with policy, not personalities, at least not initially.
Right. Multiple reports say the spark was Musk publicly criticizing that huge congressional spending bill. The sources call it different things, right? The Big Beautiful Bill, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act.
Or, from the clinic side, the Big Ugly Bill.
And given Musk just finished his stint leading DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, focusing on a spending bill makes total sense. His specific complaints, according to the reports,
that it would just balloon the federal deficit by trillions. He called it disgusting pork in it. Pretty strong language.
But initially, the sources seem to suggest she was criticizing the bill, not Trump himself.
Yeah, that distinction is noted because, remember, they'd clashed before without things blowing up like this. Sources mention Musk hated Trump's tariffs, even reportedly called a trade advisor a moron over them. But that didn't break the alliance. Okay, so they had disagreed before, but this time, the reports suggest Musk's criticism of this bill just kept getting louder in the days before the big public fight. Maybe, as some sources kind of imply, because it seemed to fly directly in the face of the cost-cutting mission he was just leading.
Yeah, the timing is key. He'd just left the DOGE role the week before. So this massive spending bill lands, and it looks like a direct contradiction. The tension was clearly building around this core disagreement on spending.
And then, Thursday, June 5th, it just explodes. As one source put it, the simmering animosity broke into the open and the battlefield. Social media, of course.
Oh, yeah. It was like watching digital gladiators. It reportedly started when Trump was asked by reporters about Musk's criticism in the Oval Office, apparently. He said he was very disappointed.
And then he added that their relationship might be over, and maybe the real jab. He claimed he would have won Pennsylvania easily anyway without Musk's help.
Which is a really interesting comment, given how much the sources emphasized Musk's financial push in PA. Musk's reply on X was immediate and pretty inflammatory. Go ahead, make my day.
Wow. Just like that.
Yeah.
And then came the first sort of direct personal attack from Musk on Trump about the election itself, right?
Yeah, sources flagged this as a turning point. Musk posts on X, "Without me, Trump would have lost the election." Such ingratitude. That really upped the stakes.
Okay, so that's Musk throwing down the gauntlet, Trump's response. On Truth Social, not X. And it was intense.
Very intense. Called Musk unhinged, said he just went crazy. Accused him of being bitter about losing electric vehicle subsidies. Trump claimed he was planning to cut anyway in this new bill. He even said he asked Musk to leave DOGE because he was wearing thin.
So rewriting the narrative of Musk's departure there. But the really big escalation from Trump was the financial threat, wasn't it?
Absolutely. That made it way more than just an online spat. Trump posted, very explicitly, the easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's governmental subsidies and contracts. Direct threat?
And he defended the bill Musk hated, calling it one of the greatest bills ever presented, claiming massive spending cuts and tax cuts within it. $1.6 trillion in cuts, he said.
So a complete defense of the policy Musk was attacking, coupled with a direct threat to Musk's business interests. But Musk, he didn't back down at all. He just kept escalating on X.
Yeah, accused Trump of lying about the bill, claimed Trump hadn't even been shown it, that it was passed in the dead of night, doubled down on the policy critique, keep the cuts, but ditched the mountain of disgusting pork.
And then Then came the post that really made everyone sit up. A really serious and, we have to stress, completely unsubstantiated allegation. Musk posted, "Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT."
Whoa. Just drop that out there. The sources describe Musk's X feed that day as just a frenzy. He launched a poll about starting a new political party.
Yep. Retweeted someone calling for Trump's impeachment. Dug up old quotes about balancing the budget. It was relentless.
And he even directed a comment at, what did he call them, MAGA blogger and Republicans, basically saying Trump's only got a few years left, but he'll be around for decades.
Yeah. Trump has 3.5 years left as president, but I will be around for 40-plus years. It was incredibly provocative. The reports all described it the same way. Spectacular, meme-ready fashion, all-out social media warfare, just unfolding in real time for everyone.
Okay, so we've seen the alliance form, the policy trigger, the absolute explosion online. What about the immediate consequences? What are the sources saying about the fallout from this very public, very nasty split?
Well, the impact hit fast and hard, according to these reports, both financially and politically. For Musk, financially, the reaction was brutal. Tesla stock just tanked, down more than 14% almost right after Trump's comments and threats.
And the numbers cited in the sources are staggering. That drop wiped, something like $150 billion off Tesla's market value?
Roughly, yeah. And personally cost Musk himself an estimated $20 billion on paper. Just like that.
An incredible amount of money vanishing quickly. And looming over all that is Trump's threat, right? To actually terminate those government subsidies and contracts. Billions of dollars potentially on the line.
Exactly. Billions. You think about SpaceX, how much it relies on government contracts for launches, for defense stuff, for Starlink subsidies, which are vital in places like Ukraine.
And Tesla, too. EV tax credits influencing auto policy, those robo-taxi plans everyone talks about, government plays a role in all of that.
It's a huge vulnerability.
Right.
And the sources point out this interesting dependency. The U.S. government itself now relies quite heavily on Musk's companies for space travel, national security, helping allies, green tech. It's really tangled.
So it's not just Musk who's exposed here. The government has a stake, too. Creates a really awkward, complicated situation now they're publicly feuding.
Definitely. And politically, the fallout is significant, too. Musk's tie-up with Trump was such a clear public swing towards the Republican side after years of backing Democrats, this massive breakup. Some sources suggest it could leave him kind of politically isolated.
Like politically homeless, doesn't really fit neatly anywhere now.
Potentially. And that could make it harder for him to navigate Washington, deal with regulations, secure the government partnerships his companies seem to need.
The sources also hint this fight might expose some cracks within the Republican Party itself, right? Especially overspending, the very issue that kicked this off.
Yeah, Musk directly challenged that huge spending bill. And while Trump tried to brush off Musk's past help during the fight, you have to wonder about Musk's willingness or even ability to pour millions into Republican campaigns going forward. That's got to be a question now.
What about the reactions? How did people respond to this public meltdown?
Well, the sources paint a picture. On one side, reports noted liberals reacting with, a lot of mockery, gleeful reminders, a real sense of, told you so, maybe some schadenfreude watching this high-profile alliance crash.
Yeah, I can imagine. And commentators.
Across the spectrum, many seemed unsurprised, frankly, pointing to the, let's say, volatile personalities involved, like maybe this was bound to happen eventually.
But not all reactions were just commentary. Some were pretty aggressive. Sources mentioned Steve Bannon, for instance, a Trump ally.
Right. Bannon apparently went hard, calling for investigations into Musk's immigration status, even suggesting deportation. Really sharp attacks.
And what about those Reddit discussions mentioned in the sources? What was the vibe there?
A real mix, it sounds like. Some people saw it as pure performance art, political WWE, kabuki theater, maybe a distraction, some suggested, from other things related to that DOGE initiative.
Like what? Concerns about data access or the influence of other figures involved, like Russell Vought? Or targeting federal workers?
Yeah, those kinds of background concerns some users apparently raised, but others on Reddit and elsewhere definitely saw it as a genuine high-stakes conflict, especially after Musk dropped that Epstein allegation. That felt, to some, like the gloves were truly off, that the animosity was real and deep, not just theater.
Okay, so let's try to wrap this up. This deep dive into the source material shows this just incredible arc, a political relationship going from criticism to this Super close alliance, unprecedented access, huge money involved.
Only to completely fall apart in this huge public online feud.
And the core conflict, it seems rooted in policy disagreement over government spending, that big bill. But it spiraled so fast into personal insults, accusations, those big financial threats from Trump.
And that really serious, unverified allegation from Musk.
The immediate results documented in the sources are clear. Massive financial hit for Musk and Tesla, huge potential risk to his company's government ties, and a real shakeup in the political landscape for both of them. Musk's political standing seems particularly uncertain now.
Yeah, he's sort of adrift politically, it seems.
So this alliance just soared incredibly high and then crashed spectacularly. When you think about how much government programs, defense, space, even internet access rely on Musk's companies.
And you consider the personalities involved here.
Right. What could this really bitter public split actually mean for that whole tangled relationship between big tech, private companies, and the U.S. government going forward? It raises some big questions. What detail or reaction from the sources really sticks out to you after digging through all this?
We'll leave you with that thought to chew on.
That's all for this deep dive into the source material.